health portfolio, he is really jeopardising the future health of New Zealanders.
I call Katrina Shanks.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. It's my pleasure to take a call on the Appropriations 2012-13 Estimates Bill this evening. Obviously, Mr Speaker, this budget is part of a wider government plan, a plan to get New Zealand back on track. And one part of that plan is to get economic growth and grow our businesses in New Zealand. And I was privileged enough last night to go and talk to the Hutt Chamber of Commerce. And what I was speaking to them about was what the government is doing around business growth and what we can do to ensure that they've got confidence so they can invest in their companies. And Mr Speaker, that's the one thing that the government can do well. Give businesses confidence so they do back themselves, so they do grow their businesses, so they do take some risk, and they do invest when times are tough, and they do grow, and they do employ more people, and they do grow our economies. Because that's the only way New Zealand's going to grow its economy is by trading its way to success. And in the Hutt, I've got to say, it must be the most underestimated area for business in New Zealand. It has got some of the most incredibly innovative and inspiring businesses in New Zealand. And if I was just to pick out one of hundreds, tens and twenties and dozens of businesses I can think of, one would be Fraser Engineering. And this business is in the Hutt, and what it does is it manufactures fire engines. But it doesn't only manufacture them for New Zealand now. In these tough times, it found new markets as well. And now it's going into Australia, and it's got some significant contracts in Australia making their fire engines as well. And they employ 100-odd people. And I went round their factory the other day, and it is impeccable. You could eat your lunch off the floor. It is beautifully tidy. It is progressive. It's inspiring. The staff obviously love the organisation and love working there. They've got some very long-term staff there, and it's progressive. And it's backing itself. It's backing itself in these tough economic times to go into emerging markets and grow. And I was lucky enough also the other day to be part of the Parliamentary Business Trust, where I went to Coca-Cola Amatil. And they themselves are investing in New Zealand as well. They've just opened a new bottling factory. And wandering around and talking to the staff there. They love Coca-Cola Amatil. They're well looked after. They've well looked after, and they've got a sense of pride in their product and what they produce. And this is an example of a company that is growing and investing in New Zealand as well and employing more people because of that. And so we've got to, as a government, ensure that we can give them the confidence they need to grow their businesses in New Zealand. So we've identified 6 key drivers for business growth in New Zealand. And the first one is skilled workplaces. Because we know that when we have our trainees go out into these businesses, that they need to have the skills to be able to match what the industry needs for their business. And there's got to be a direct match from the ITOs and what they're producing and what the businesses need and where they're going in the future. So what we're doing is we've looked at the ITOs and we've made some changes, and we're out talking to them at the moment, consulting with them at the moment about how we can get that stronger, and our industries can have a real voice about what they need in their trainees coming out so their skills are well matched with the businesses and the businesses can grow in the future and have a constant, good, highly skilled stream of workers coming through. Another area is innovation and research. And obviously we've just put out a progress report called Building Innovation, and here it is here. We put one out last week or the week before on exporting, and I recommend anybody to go and pick them up. Moby have done them, and they're really, really informative about what we're trying to do in these sectors for economic growth. And the good thing about these, you can actually hold the government to account for the progress we're trying to make with our economic drivers for business. And I think that's really important, that there is accountability back with the initiatives that we've got in place to ensure that we can be held accountable for what we're doing as well. And it's interesting because when you go around and you talk to the businesses and you talk to them about what they're doing, it's all about innovation, it's all about research, it's all about making their products better and better and better so they can stay competitive in these global markets that they're entering. And so what we've done is we've brought a new ministry, it was known as the Super Ministry, MOBI, in place, and that's brought together science and innovation, economic development, employment, housing and building. And the important thing about putting these 4 ex-ministries under the same umbrella is that they'll be talking to each other a lot more. They won't be working in silos, which has happened in the past. And when you think about it, it makes sense. Science and innovation, economic development, employment, they should all be talking to each other, interacting with each other, ensuring each lines up with each other so we're all going in the right direction and they're not working against each other. And I suppose the other big initiative we've announced in the budget, $166 million over 4 years, was the ATIs, the Advanced Technology Institutes. And if we're serious about growing business and helping them to grow in New Zealand and staying cutting edge, we have to invest in their technology and the ability to access research and access researchers more easily to grow their business and stay competitive. So one of the ideas around the ATIs is that the researchers can go into business and work directly with them. Because what we've heard from businesses is they've got these great ideas, they can commercialise them, which is fantastic, but they really struggle to take them to the next level because they can't get the researchers in their business. They don't need them full time. They only want them for 6 months to come in and give them a bit of a help to get their research moving along and come and go out of their business. So what we're trying to do is facilitate research with businesses to make it much easier. And we also know we've got some great innovators in our institutes, our Crown Institutes as well. And what we're trying to do is allow them to get their great ideas and commercialise them to be able to take them to the market much quicker. So we're looking at from both sides to actually try and make the most of the great ideas that we've got and also help the business to access researchers so they can actually grow their businesses as well. The other area we're looking at is capital markets. Obviously, if a business wants to grow, it needs to be able to access capital markets. And there's many ways you can do that, many vehicles you can use to grow your capital markets. Obviously, one of them is through the banks, through other investors, through foreign debt, through foreign investment. There are many, many vehicles you can use to grow your business. And we've got to ensure as a government that we've got capital markets strong enough so businesses have a range of capital that they can access. And we did significant reform in the last government with the Honourable Simon Power, doing a lot of work around our capital markets and ensuring that they are a lot stronger. The other area that we need as one of our key business growth areas is obviously infrastructure. And in Wellington in particular, we've just got Transmission Gully out of the starting blocks. It's taken about 30 years, but it's just started going through that process now. And that'll be great for New Zealand, for business in Wellington, be able to get their goods and services up and down out of Wellington in a much more efficient and effective way. But not only that, we've also invested heavily in our rail to ensure that our freight can move around New Zealand much more quickly. And not only that, we've also the rollout of ultra-fast broadband. And ultra-fast broadband is very important to New Zealand business to ensure we stay connected with the world. And the last area I want to touch on is our exports. Once again, we put out a similar progress report a couple of weeks ago on exports, and I recommend that you go and pick it up and see what we're doing in this area. Because we've done significant work in our free trade agreements, and in 2008, one of the most famous free trade agreements for us has been that one with China, which people talk about. And since we've had that free trade agreement, our exports to China have increased by 160%. Now that's fairly significant. The one thing that businesses do say to us is, we need to get channels open to get into these new markets so we can access them. So free trade agreements is one vehicle. The other one we're looking at is working with Australia much closer to use joint channels to open up some of these new sectors, these new markets, for our businesses to work with Australian businesses as well. So, Mr. Speaker, we've got a strong growth agenda for our businesses. And I'm sure that over time we will get this brighter future because our exports will be the way that we trade out of this recession that we've gone through and that we do get the growth that we're looking for. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I call Phil Twyford.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Back in May, on May the 24th, I listened to the Prime Minister say